Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, guys. Today we're going to talk about Thomas Aquinas, okay, and what we can learn from him. Some months ago, I made a video about Thomas Aquinas where he was critiquing Islam, but actually, there's something I think is a principle here that you can actually follow that to me makes sense, okay. Now, I'm going to share it with you. So, Thomas Aquinas, if you are not familiar with him, is very popular, especially among the Catholics. He's a theologian, okay, medieval theologian. Thomas Aquinas, very, very popular. Anyway, he said something about reason. Okay, he said, see, everything is about reason. If something does not make sense to you, it will be evil to actually follow it. That's what he said. Now, you'll be like, this guy is saying this and he was a Christian, right? So, remember that video I also made about objective truth and everything? Like, what hope do we have? How can we find the truth? The only way we can find the truth is through reason, right? I always emphasize on it, like reason. Now, because what is the alternative to reason? The alternative to reason will be to just blindly follow something. Now, if we make it a principle, should we make it a principle to always use reason, or we should make it a principle to blindly follow? You see? So, if you make it a principle to blindly follow things that doesn't make sense to you, then you cannot call to truth. You cannot call to objective truth, because everyone will just follow whatever they are told to follow. Okay, so now I'll get to like subjectivity and reason also, but I think it's very, very nice, very good principle that he's actually saying. That's it. He even said he went so far to say that if Christianity doesn't make sense to you, it will be evil for you to accept it. That's how strong he is on the notion of reason. So, and after all is said, and he still remained a Christian. So, for example, me, the Trinity and all those stuff, it doesn't make any sense to me, right? And that's why I make a lot of videos about it. So, it will be evil for me to accept it because it doesn't make sense to me. Now, what if? Now you have to be fair. Like, what if Islam doesn't make sense to somebody, or the way the Islam was presented to him doesn't make sense to him? And this is why you see some scholars that they are always say like, okay, maybe not everyone that rejects Islam is going to Jahannam, because what if the version of Islam they rejected is not presented the right way? And I'll get into all of that later. But see that principle right there. We use reason to justify our beliefs. Okay? If you want to examine if something is true, we use reason. We cannot blindly follow anything. And by the way, this is another principle. I think the Zohiri guys, Ibn Hazm and all those people, the Zohiri school, they are always emphasizing on don't do Taqleed. Taqleed is the term that, okay, you blindly follow something. Now, we'll get into like, can you blindly follow some things and when do you use reason and stuff like that later. But see, there's one side reason, on the other side to follow something just because someone said it or something. That's the alternative. Now, what I'm saying is this. Just because, you see now, reason led Thomas Aquinas to be a Christian. I believe reason is leading me to become a Muslim, to stay a Muslim at least, okay? And reason can lead you to many other beliefs too that are subjective. But pay attention to this. Even if your reason fails you, maybe let's say there's an objective truth, and you try to reach that truth with reason, and your reason leads you to something wrong, don't forget something. At least you use your reason. That's one thing I want you to take away from it. See, even if it seems like it's subjective, okay, you have Thomas Aquinas, you have Imam al-Ghazali, heavyweights. And by the way, you have, what's his name of this scholar? Averroes, Ibn Rushd, okay? These are Muslim philosophers. And even Thomas Aquinas, he learned a lot from Ibn Rushd and all these people, by the way. So the thing is that, from their works anyway. So what I'm saying is that reason can lead you to several different beliefs, but at least you use your reason. At least that's what I'm saying. Like, if you remove reason from it, that will be the alternative. And that one is even worse because it will be subjective and a lot irrational, right? It will be subjective and arbitrary. But if we use reason, at least each person will know, like, this is why I'm believing this. And he has a proof, he has some kind of reasoning behind it. And he has to be consistent in using that reason. That's the whole point. That's the task now. I'm not saying just because we use reason, then everyone will agree. No. But at least we'll respect each other. That, okay, I see where you're coming from. Even though I disagree with you, the way you're thinking about it here. And your task is just to prove your point to somebody else, and if it makes sense, they will accept it. If reason, see, this is what I think. You'll be like, okay, what if Islam doesn't make sense to somebody? What I will say is this: he uses reason, and yet it still doesn't make sense to him. For example, you have William Lane Craig and all these smart philosophers, Ryan Mullins. I even benefit from some of their works. Let's not say Ryan Mullins, Islam doesn't make sense to him for some reason, and that's why he didn't accept it, right? What I'll say is that it's not like Islam is illogical. That's why it didn't make sense to him. No, it's probably he's not convinced. That's all. He's not convinced that Islam is true, and he has a set of arguments probably against Islam why he's not accepting it. That's what it will be. It will not be because Islam is illogical, or I'm rejecting Christianity because Christianity, in essence, is illogical. No, I can find things here and there, and this is why I'm rejecting it. Not because it's so clear to me, and yet I reject it. You see what I'm saying there? So I think that's the only way out of this, our reason. And let me now show you. And in another video, I've actually said this. You'll be thinking, no. If Islam doesn't make sense to somebody, they should just accept it. If that's what you're saying, I'll show you the problem with that view, or any belief whatsoever. Let's say someone, you tell him this principle that even though it doesn't make sense, accept it. Now you are probably thinking you are probably a Sunni, okay? Let's say you're a Sunni guy, and you imagine if he's a Shia. See, I'm not throwing any shades at Shia here, but I know you guys, the Sunnis, think you are obviously wrong, for example. So now imagine he's a Shia that is trying to convert this guy. Should he just accept the Shia and say, you know what, I believe now whatever you say, you know? So would that be what you accept? Would you accept that? Of course not. And another thing is that, remember, there's one story I heard about someone. He prayed to God in the night, and he said, show me a sign tomorrow. And in the next morning, he said, whoever comes to me, that is the one who I'm going to follow, right? That's what he said. Guess what? They said, maybe this story was made up anyway, but a Hindu guy came. So now, should he accept the Hindu guy? Be like, I prayed and God sent me the Hindu guy. As a Muslim, you'll be like, no, you cannot do this, right? That's what I'm saying. Why reason is the key. Even if your reason fails you, you still use your reason. Okay? It's better than following something blindly, and then when they ask you, let's say on the day of judgment, they ask you, why did you believe this? I just followed, right? And I think even this principle is in the Quran, that لَقَدْ وِدْنَا نَحْنُ وَآبَاؤُنَا هَذَا مِنْ قَبْلِ هَذَا. I think it's something like this, about they just follow their forefathers' tradition without thinking about it. This is in Islam, in the Quran, by the way. This is there, that people just blindly following things without thinking about them. Okay, so you cannot just blindly follow. That's the whole point. See, if you give me two options, reason or blindly following, and both of them can lead me to, let's say I come to wrong conclusions on both, I would rather be wrong on reason than be wrong on blindly following. You see? So whenever this principle, just take it with you, that reason is the key. All we need to do now is that, how can we think clearly? How can we reason without being subjective? How can we look at our biases? See, you have many biases, which I've been talking about also in the last few videos. So you have a lot of biases. For example, you were born a Muslim, you are born into a particular society. There are a lot of biases you already have. So you need to work around that. Reason will help you to see yourself. That, okay, this is what I'm bringing to the table. Maybe I need to revise this. Maybe this is not as compelling as I thought. Maybe I need to present a better argument. Okay? So at the end of the day, that principle, I think, if the truth is Islam, then it will make sense. That's the thing. Like, if Islam is the truth, which I believe it is, I shouldn't be scared that people would use reason to come to it. Okay? I should present Islam in the best possible light and try to remove all this extra. See, by the way, I'll make another video about this. There are some extra beliefs, extra things that are unnecessary to be a Muslim. They are unnecessary. The core beliefs of Islam. What is it? What is Islam calling to? Tawheed, oneness, monotheism, and this kind of things. Don't know that Occam's razor. Don't multiply things beyond proportion. See, a lot of things that people say against Islam, even by the way, Thomas Aquinas also, he fell into this trap. All the arguments that he was making against Islam is about the Prophet ﷺ used to, is historical stuff. Like, the Prophet ﷺ used to raid caravans, or he has this amount of wives, or he did this, he did that. It's all emotional stuff. This is not like a, to me, it's not a rational argument. Oh, your prophet raided caravans. Why did he do it? Did he even do it? Historical things that might not even be true. Do you know? Like, it's not about, say, premise one, this, premise two, this kind of. See, I'm not saying you should always think like that, but most of the arguments you see online against Islam is all emotional. It's all about this is morally wrong or something like this. That's all. Or this is evil. It's not about, is Islam not calling to monotheism? It's not about the core theological beliefs. Do you see? So that's what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, we can still benefit, even if we disagree with someone like Thomas Aquinas. We can still learn a lot of things from him. By the way, he made a lot of arguments for the existence of God. Okay, so there are some of his arguments that it's not like Muslim philosophers didn't do it before him, but he's a theist. Okay, he believes in God, and just like every other person, he was a Christian and everything. So we can still learn some things from him. So this principle, I totally agree with it. If something doesn't make sense to you, it will be evil for you to accept it. If you think this is like, if someone asks you, if Islam doesn't make sense to me, should I still accept it? You should say no. Try Islam should make sense to you. You shouldn't accept something that doesn't make sense. Now, this would actually save him. How? How will it save him? Think about it. If you say he should accept Islam, even though it doesn't make sense, what if it's a Shia that is presenting Islam to him? As a Sunni, you would disagree with him. Or even if a Shia, if it's a Sunni that is presenting Islam to him, is that the kind of Islam you want him to accept? What if it's Ahmadiyya? I think those guys are Shia anyway. What if it's a deviant person? What if you're a Christian, you think someone should accept Christianity if it doesn't make sense? What if it's a Mormon? What if it's all those deviant guys? What if they're the ones telling him, just accept it, even if it doesn't make sense? And once he believes it because it not because it makes sense, then that will be his principle, such that when the orthodox guys come to try and tell him it doesn't make sense, he'll be like, of course it doesn't make sense. I already knew it doesn't make sense. That's why I accepted it. I'm just following. Do you see? So at the end of the day, you will end up contradicting yourself. You want reason to come to the table to save the day, but you already removed reason in the acceptance in the first place. So I hope you guys can learn this principle. What you need to do now is, how do you reason? How do you be critical in your reasoning? Okay, to the best of your ability. This is your task. How can I make sure each of my beliefs is not nonsense? I have it's not contradictory. For example, one of the first principles, law of non-contradiction. Your beliefs cannot be contradictory. If you have contradictory things, are just false. Simple as ABC. If you have a contradictory belief, it's already false. You shouldn't see. It's not tenable. You can believe it, but it's not tenable. It's just, I believe it because it says so, not because it makes sense. Okay, so I just wanted to share this with you, and let me see what you guys think about it in the comment section. So see you guys later. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.